So welcome to the DaVinci Resolve 18.1 webinar conducted by Future Media Concepts. The first thing I will talk about is making sure that you guys either have the free version or the one that you pay $295. And I'm going to start my application by activating my DaVinci Resolve doc attached application little picture. So here's what I'm looking for. If you're a Macintosh user, you know that in the applications you have your DaVinci Resolve somewhere, and when it's somewhere you need to find out what is the version of it. My DaVinci Resolve version right now, it claims, is 18.1. Okay, and this is like a November version. So there's an 18.1 and 4 and all the rest of the stuff. But as long as you are 18.1, you should be okay to replicate things that I am talking about or I am showing, demonstrating. So opening up the DaVinci Resolve activates the icon that represents the application program. It identifies itself as the studio version, which is the paid version, which comes with a dongle. I have a pre-cut story, a pre-cut sequence for you, and double-clicking on it should open it up. And just to talk to some of you guys who are maybe novices to this, if you want to start a brand new project, opening up the application, let's do that scenario. By definition, you will always have an empty untitled sequence, untitled timeline, or project. Well, either of those terms are interchangeable. In DaVinci Resolve, it's very specific. It's a project. So the untitled project is what you start with. So essentially, if you have some camera originals, you would probably open up a project. And the question is, what is the project preset? My recommendation is, and you have a whole bunch of webinars that we posted. I'll give you the link later in the class. If you right-click on the drop-down, there is a project settings option where you can ahead of time preset your project to be a specific one. There are three elements in any kind of nonlinear. You guys some of you are new users, some of you have been using this for a long time, some of you are expert. So you know that there is a frame issue, 24, 25, or 30 drop. There is the raster size, which is how many pixels top and how many pixels down, horizontal, vertical, and the aspect ratio. Generally, when you open up a DaVinci Resolve project, it defaults to 1920 1080, which is a 16 across 9. It is running at 24 frame because generally DaVinci was designed for film. So if you want to change that, you go on the drop down and you change it to whatever rate. And then you decide that if the 1920 is not enough for you, you can actually go up all the way to like 8190 to 48. That's like huge. So my point is that you can set that up ahead of time. Therefore, you don't have to be locked into the default. So if you start on untitled and you don't check your project settings, you can just double click, open up an untitled project, and it's an empty project. If you're a novice to DaVinci Resolve, on the bottom, you should see different work areas. Media, that's when you bring the stuff in. Cut is very similar to, there was a product called iMovie way back. Edit is very familiar to you if you're a Premiere user or Avid user or Final Cut. Fusion is an animation environment. Color is mostly what you and I will be dealing with today. Fairlight is the sound and the deliver. I will, as I said, deal with how a project is started. And I just showed it to you that if you start a project, you need to bring in media. How do you bring it in? Where you bring it in from? You need to know where your camera cards or where your hard drive is. So you would generally either right-click drop down and import a bin or import media. We'll talk about that as we go along, but I do have already a project that I put together. Bottom right-hand corner, go home, and I have a project called Resolve March 2023 webinar. Left double-clicking opens it up. I have some preset things for you, and the preset thing that I'm really looking for to just refresh is a bin timelines where O1 webinar tells me who I am. That's my name. ACI stands for Avid Certified Instructor, but I'm sure that you're familiar with ACE. If you're Adobe, so I have all those certifications. I have to. That's a requirement for us to be respected and successful trainers. But here is the breakdown. Hoppa, hoppa. Hold on, go back. Today, I'm going to talk about the scene cut detection. I'll explain to you what that is and how that works. If you have worked with it, you're going to have fun with it again. If you haven't, you're going to probably hopefully find use for it. Color wheels versus curves. We'll talk about the primary color correction using scopes. We're going to go through a couple of scenarios. Copy corrections from clip to clip, or group a whole bunch of clips that they look the similar way and correct them at the same time. And we're going to have some fun with the outside node, which we generate a sky. So that's the plan that I have for today. So let's start with explaining how the scene cut detection works. The scene cut detection presumes that you have a scenario. I'm going to get rid of all the stuff here because I pre-cut it already. The scenario presumes that you're going to bring in something that somebody cut together for you. When I'm saying something somebody cut together for you, instead of sending you separate files, they cut together, we call it a string out, a whole bunch of clips in a QuickTime movie or MPEG-4 or something like that. So if they send you a whole pre-cut story, but it's not really edited, it's just raw footage. So they give you, let's say, hours worth of footage that you need to cut down to 10 minutes. But instead of sending separate files, they send you a QuickTime where all the files are put together. So how does that come in? Well, generally, the way that would work is that in the media setting, you activate your friend and you can say, listen, find where that stuff is. What stuff? Well, I have a drive that I have all my material on. And on that drive, I have something called a long workday SCD. It's a QuickTime movie. If I just bring it in by definition, so if I just drag it in and put it into my material as a footage to work with, in the editing, it looks like a story that is pre-cut, which is exactly, so pre-cut. See that? So my need to chop it up would be really, really expecting a lot of time to cut it up. And some people kind of like that, some people don't. Let me explain what I'm saying. I drag it into the timeline shows me. So instead of having some kind of automatic setup, every time I see a cut from a shot to a different shot, I add an edit, chop it down into segments so I can trim it, I can do manipulation, things of that sort. You notice that I brought it in as import media, which I linked. So let me show you how the scene cut detection works. The scene cut detection presumes that you have a story that is pre-cut, which is in this case a movie. And if you want to bring it in, you are right-clicking on it, and you're not importing it yet, but you are activating the scene cut detection. So the scene cut detection presumes that you have a story, which I said has a whole bunch of shots, and you tell the computer, could you auto scene detect it? Now, this generally works, and your editors, hopefully, you understand the concept of cut as opposed to dissolve. If the dissolve is in there, computer will have a harder time understanding what are you talking about. But if you have straight electronic impulse stop and start, that is a cut, and that straight cut could be recognized by auto scene detect. Let's see if it does. Ding, 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 ding. It goes through the process, and it presumes that those are the green lines where the edits were, or where the clips are connected. Edits I generate, the connection of the clips is what somebody baked in when they send me the big file. So now when it's done, you will put that to the media pool, puts it to the media pool. And when it's all done, now you close it and you will have a whole bunch of clips that are now part of your media pool. Let's find out. And you see one shot, upper left-hand corner, another shot, double clicking on it. You can drag it up, you select any environment. So these are all short clips that start and end at a specific time. So essentially what you and I did were getting a QuickTime, good quality stuff, maybe 4K or whatever, and you chopped it up, scene cut detection. Now we can put a story together. Let's get out of the timeline, grabbing all the clips, lasso. You can do a Command-A, Control-A on the Windows. And right-click on the top, and this is very traditional, everybody has that, create a new timeline using the selected clips. So now you put it together, and we'll call it Webinar Thursday, and March 23. Well, let's say March 23. I don't know how you label your stories, how you label stuff. If you are a new editor, I will recommend that you use some kind of logic that is either pegged to the day, time, day of the week, year, maybe even time, actually physical time. Thursday, I can actually call it 1. What's the time right now? 1:13 p.m. and it's on March 23. Got it. So it creates a brand new one. Now all the clips come in and they are all, as you see, hard cuts where the transition happens. Shift Z shows the entire timeline. So now we got rid of that scene cut detection. So that's one topic off. So how does one manipulate the color? And that's going to be the focus of this webinar. Clearly, there are other webinars on the internet, YouTube or Vimeo, and you can check them out. And they are specifically saying what they're going to do. I am moving from the first topic, which was scene cut. I explained it. This is all being recorded. So you guys, when you want to look at it, what you saw, you can always come back to it. Color wheels and curves. So switching over from the edit workspace to the color workspace, and the color workspace things come up, and you notice that each of the clips is represented by the first frame, the thumb wheel. So you can actually move around. One shot, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm moving around with the up and down arrow from shot to shot, and it looks like I have a sequence of 25, 26, 27. You see the dissolve is now mixing things up. At the end, the dissolve is not sure. So that's why I was telling you that dissolve is kind of hard for the computer to use the scene cut detection. So the scene cut detection, one more time, works very well when the cuts are very straight, or you assemble them together so the computer can recognize it. Anyways, so you notice that there are different looks, and I'm going to talk to you about the color wheels as opposed to the color. So the brightness, darkness, and all the rest of the stuff are two different concepts. I usually use the brightness, darkness as the determining factor, what is important for me to see. So the brightness probably goes up a certain height, the darkness comes down. And what I do is irrelevant. It's what your buyer, your distribution, or your image is. Who are you? So you have a specific look that you work on. So let's go on to a shot where we have interior. The guy is in an office, 1, 2, 3. You have to accept that these are very similar shots because they are all happening indoors, and the presumption is that the lighting conditions are the same. So you're with me so far. So if the lighting conditions are the same, when I go into shot number 6, now we're in the garage, so the locality is different and the lighting conditions are different. So let's start with shot number 3. I'm not going to go into the dark one because there's not too many of those exterior shots, and these are actually close enough. So on 3, the orange wireframe identifies that that's what I'm working with. And if you have worked with DaVinci, you know that they're working on the nodes. The node is this particular little box, and you have a different way of doing nodes. In this scenario, I'm going to work with the serial node, which is Option S, Alt S, 1 or 2 of them. When you add a node, the principle is that the first content is going to be adjusted by the second box, and the second box is going to be adjusted by the third. So whatever I make adjust is going to adjust the first, whatever is. And if I make an adjustment on the second, the third one's going to be in the series, make an adjustment. So with that, go on to 2 and talk about the color wheel as opposed to the curves. So guys, your microphone is on. Who's ever microphone, please try to mute it if you don't mind. I hear your private conversation, so the group is also hearing it, and it's being recorded. So may I? Node 2. The node 2, we talk about the color wheel and the curves, and in the color wheel curves, we are looking for the specific scenario. What is the difference between the wheel and the curves? Generally, the curves are very liked, preferred, loved, used. Why? Because they are very instant. Watch what happens. I brighten up the whole thing. I brighten up the middle of it. I darken the middle. It's very instant. And you notice that my measurement, my waveform measurement, reflects the change right away. So the curves are very popular and very cool. Generally, if you are using the curves, I've seen for many, many years, people using the S curve concept, where they push the brightness a bit, bring the darkness, and now it's crisper. So if you look at it full screen, there we go. Play it. Yeah, it's nice and crisp. If I turn it off without it, with it. So you achieve the particular look. Now, the cool thing about this is that you have the ability to copy that information from that node to another node inside the environment, or you can copy it from a clip to another clip, another clip. So if I decide that I'm going to have a bright on the shot number 3. Let's make it bright. Let's make it nice and change the color of it by using the third node. Make it like a nice cold day. Click inside the third node, bring down the red, and push the blue with the curves. And now we have a nice cool look, almost like a wintry look. And it's different from the 4 and from the 5. So when I said copy a color correction from clip to clip, this is how you would do that. You activate 4, you activate 5. They are now selected for what? To copy from 3 to 4 and 5. So the premise is not you select first what you want to copy, you select the destination first, and then it goes over to where you're copying from. I'm going to copy the blue look, right click, drop down, and we're going to do apply the grade. Done. So now 3, 4, and 5 are that bluish look. Let me clear it out to explain this concept with using the color wheels. So let's click on these 3 guys. You know by now that this wireframe, this square frame, box frame around 3, 4, and 5 signifies that there's a color grading on it. So when you see that rainbow, that was telling you, or that is telling you that you have some adjustment on it. So go into the color, drop down, reset the all grades 3, 4, and 5. So it's now empty. So let's go back again to 3. I'm going to now talk about the color wheels. This is, again, a webinar that is going not just fast-paced, but it presumes that some concepts you're familiar with. So if you click on our 3, again, I'm going to add 2 nodes, option S once, twice. The first node I generally recommend, and I've seen and I've trained a whole bunch of guys, pick any of the 3, letters, HBO, ABC, NBC, pick any of them, CNN, Fox, whatever. I usually like to name it so I am sure that I am doing exactly balance. Let's say the balance, which is the black and white, the brightness, darkness, and then the color. So right click, node label, and the color. So now if I want to make sure that it is really, really bright, go back to the balance. And instead of using the curves, which is what I used earlier, I'm going to use the wheels. Now the wheels are very specific. They give you a dark area, which is lift, the gray area, which is gamma, and the bright area, which is gain. And if you're using the regular color wheels, you can brighten up the bright area by moving the wheel. You see how the wheel brings it up. The wheel, there is like a wheel there. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor hovering. I'm looking at my machine. Yeah. And if you want to darken the dark, you grab the dark and darken it down. So now it's a look. So you use the color wheels to adjust the dark area. It's almost like, if you guys understand concept of bass, middle, and high, like everybody has probably a car stereo, so you can boost the bass, the mid, and the high. So that's what that is, the dark area, the gray area, the bright area. So with the color wheels, I was making that adjustment, and I have that particular look. Let's say that this is a hot day somewhere where it is very warm. So on the second node, I am going to use the mid-range to make it more brownish, not yellowish, not reddish, but brownish. And when I'm using the brownish, you notice that I'm using that little white dot that is in the middle of the color wheel, and I'm going into a 10 o'clock direction because that's where the brown is, where the red and the yellow converges. So if I make that a kind of brownish, and I say, let's all the bright area, so even the shirt is going to be brownish, because like, look at it, red. Whoa, what kind of light do they have? Is it a disco night? Or just have the dark ones. But you notice that I am now using the color wheels to make this. I don't think that the dark is going to be important. Yeah, okay. So now I have a different look. And you notice that if I look at the big picture, it looks like a very hot, almost like there's like a red light in a room, or I don't know. Again, I'm not arguing, I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying the concept is going to work. And your need, as we have said it earlier, is to copy it onto 4 and 5. So you select 4, hold down Shift, 5, they are highlighted, and you right click again on 3 because you are applying the grade from 3 to 4 and 5. So now all 3 are the same, brownish, brownish, brownish. If you don't believe me, let's go select all 3 of them, see if I can select all 3 of them. And I believe there is the drop down here. No, that's the wrong one. Go back again. Hello. Come on, show the split screen. And in the split screen, I'm going to show the selected clips. There we go. So all 3 are, as you can see, brownish, and they're playing in real time. So now we achieve that. That's kind of easy. That's kind of simple. But I was, calm down. You notice that I was making adjustments on 1 and I copied it on 2 and 3. Now we're going to talk about what is the difference between a copy, which is what we did, copied it from 3 to 4 and 5, as opposed to a group clip. The group clip to me is probably the best thing ever, 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 ever. So let me show you how that would work. I'm going to clear out 3, 4, and 5 and clear out the monitor. There we go. No split screen off. There we go. And clear out as I did earlier with the color dropdown. I'm going to reset the colors on the grades and the nodes so they're back to normal. And now I'm going to introduce to your new friend. This friend to me is very helpful, but it requires a preset. When I say preset, I need to quantify it. It presumes that the lighting conditions of 3 or 4 or 5 or number of shots were the same, the locality is the same, everything is the same. Otherwise, this grouping would not make sense. So let's presume that, yes, we are indoors, indoors, indoors. If I play it, you can see it's on a big screen. Yeah, it's a dark kind of office thing. I don't know, the lights are down, but each of the shots, 3, 4, and 5 are the same color temperature, the same character, the same element. So if you select 3 of them, clearly you can have more than 3. I never went over maybe a dozen, 2 dozen. If you want to have them grouped, you right click because you selected 3, 4, and 5, and you can tell them, please, could you become one group? Like what? Right click, drop down, and tell it to be a group that is going to be interior office. Office, hello, office. Come on now, get the spelling right. I'm rushing it. Office. So if you have now selected these 3 guys, these 3 clips, these 3 shots, you notice that on the bottom right-hand corner, there is a little clip suggesting that you are now working with a group environment. Therefore, if you make adjustments to one of them, all 3 should adjust. Let's see if they do. So let me brighten up the first one. Let's see all 3 adjust. No, it doesn't. Not yet. So whatever I'm parked on, it makes adjustment on that one. So when you group the 3 guys, which right now I am grouped, doesn't really matter which one I select at this point. If I have all 3 of them selected, then they are grouped. If I click on the 3rd or 5th, which is like the 3rd shot or the first one in that sequence, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter which one I'm going to adjust. All 3 of them will adjust. How? Why? Well, the how is that in the clip drop-down upper right-hand corner, the clip drop-down now gives you a group pre-clip and group post-clip option. Let me click someplace else to show you that it doesn't do that on 6. On 6, you have either a clip or the timeline. Oh, why? Because the shot number 6 is not part of a group. Got it. So when you put together a group, which in this case, 3, 4, 5 are of the same group, we agreed that the image, the temperature, the interior, the locality, the character, the actors, everything are the same or very similar. Now we can grab one of them. Doesn't matter which one. Come down and do a pre-clip. Pre-clip is a terminology that the guys at Black Magic Design use for basic balance of the brightness and darkness. And you notice that the color around the node changes from whatever the clip is. Clip is usually orange, red. But if you go pre-clip, it changes to that gold one. All right, so now let's see how powerful this is, if it is. I'm going to use first the curve, and I'm going to say that everything's going to be brighter, like brighter. Look at it. Guess what? All 3 were brightened up. 1, 2, and 3. Don't trust me. Let's go on 2 and see if I can bring it down. So go down and make it like really dark. Everything is dark. So all 3 are dark. Oh, so you now see the power. I don't know if you used it ever before. You can chat me and somebody can, tell me that you used it, or if you haven't, that's fine too. I just want to point out to you that the concept of grouping is very simple. You select a whole bunch of shots. Let's say that we have shots, all this underground, like this is a garage shot, for example. I'm going to select 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They are kind of very close to garage stuff. Right click, the step is what? To adjust and put them into group. Add into a new group. I'm going to call it garage. And now you will notice that each of these clips have the little color staple on it, or little clip. Some people, for logistics and for kind of, I don't want to call it sanity, but for kind of easier management, also want to make sure that you put them in a different color. So each of these guys that are garage, I'm going to right click. I'm going to say, I'm going to add a flag, a different color flag. So I'm going to add a cyan flag. So all the cyan are the garage. All the guys that are at the office are a different one. So I'm going to right click one more time, watch it, and I'm going to add a yellow flag. So either I use the color to identify their group. They are still group because the little clip is there, so identifies it. But it's also easier from say, oh, I don't know. Did I pick 6? I can pick 6. Can I right click on the pick and add to a group? Oh, there's a group. No, add to, oh, there's current group. Oh, which group? Oh, okay, so I can actually select groups. My point is that other than just showing the group linkage, the group connectivity, I'm also adding a color. So if I click on the first one, I'm going to say the garage is going to look like a very bright garage. Which shot do you pick? Doesn't really matter. And instead of using the curves, I'm going to use the brightness. I'm going to brighten up the thing. Look at it. I'm going to push up. I'm going to go like really silly so you can see that all of them are adjusted. Or go and darken it slightly, do some contrast, and maybe desaturate it so I have not that much red, which would be the saturation. Let's say make it black and white. So that whole section is black and white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, the color generally is not addressed on the pre. The color is addressed generally on the post clip. So you have two separate things, because if you had the brightness and the color on the same node, it's going to be harder for you to control. So for that reason, I'm going to reset it. Watch it. I'm going to make sure that the brightness of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is going to be adjusted by pushing the brightness a bit. Contrast. Bring down the contrast. And now I'm going to go into the post clip, which is now the color adjustment, and I'm going to make it a little bit colder. How? Well, remember I was showing you earlier the curves. Now I'm going to work with the primaries. I'm going to make the brighter areas a bluer, a little bit, cool it off, maybe even the mid-range area, cool it off. There we go. So now all the shots that I have, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, can I put them together and have them seen in the split window? Let's see if the split window selected clips, does it select them? Yeah, I can do that. So here they are. So these are all now in that bluish look. And somebody above my pay grade said, excuse me, can you make it warmer? It's too cold. Make it just desaturate. Make it like, there was a whole bunch of movies where they had color desaturate, or make it look like Matrix, or pick anything that matters to you or makes sense. So with that, I'm going into the post clip, pick one of those that are part of the garage. And I'm gonna, let's say, make it not bluer, but greener. There we go. That's my Matrix lookish. I don't know if it's Matrix. I don't want to use any movies that you may not agree with, but this is how you make things function and work, especially when you are using this concept of, as opposed to copy information from one clip to another one, as opposed to grouping it. And grouping to me is a very helpful tool. I hope you like it. If I see thumbs up, I know that you're paying attention, and I hope that you appreciate this. If it's not, by all means, talk to your camera guys, to make sure that you have consistency. But in interviews, I see that. So if the interview environment is in, they chop up an interview into 10, 15, 20 segments, and the location is the same, the character is the same, the lighting stays the same, why adjust it over and over and over again? Unless you get paid per hour, that would make sense. So with that, I'm going to go get out of here and talk to you about something that I found very, very useful. It is called the scenario where you have the key replacement, the sky replacement. Okay, so what is the sky replacement? That's something I'm looking at. Some, did anybody chats? Hold on. Thumbs up, smile, good, okay, good. So a couple of people that, thank you very much. It's not because I'm doing it, I'm just demonstrating the software, so you hopefully will take advantage of this. Anyway, so here is the premise. I have a couple of shots that I have a cloud or a sky. Let me just get those effects out. And the way I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna duplicate that entire section, which is going to be, I'm going to minimize it, hold down Option Alt. So I'm going to duplicate that whole section. So I have two groups of shots. The first group is already replaced the sky, but I'm going to show you how I replace the sky, because that to me is a really cool tool, especially if you want to have something, and this generally works well when it's a lockdown shot, and you want to change the sky to something more dramatic, less dramatic. You can even keyframe it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I have a number of clips that have sky. These are all stationary shots. You can hear some noise. There's some wind noise. And lucky for me, there's not much movement. Maybe the camera is shaking a little bit, but these are all shots that have a sky. Now, some of them have a clearly defined, easier sky to cut out. Some of them have more sophisticated, but we'll deal with that. So if you are ready, let's go into color. This is the last element of the training, and we went a certain speed already. So by definition, you remember I said you have an option of making an adjustment. So I have on one adjustment, there we go, 2, 3, 4. And you notice that the little color square around the number of the clip identifies. Yeah, there is some information there. There we go. So what I'm going to do is clear out 5, 6, 7, 8 to explain how I got to where I was beginning. Step 1, bring down the color. I'm going to grade hello, reset all the versions. There we go, some black, back to normal. The split window is still kind of trying to get my attention. I'm going to change it back to split screen off. There we go. So I have a sky. I'm going to show you the full screen. And the sky is kind of stationary. The clouds are kind of not bright enough. And I need to do something more interesting. Can I make artificial sky? Sure. That's the whole premise here. So if you have seen this before, you'll like it again, hope. If you haven't, I hope you'll be impressed. The only issue I have is that you see that the clouds are kind of following some kind of a shape. So I need to kind of cut out the cloud that way. So I have two choices, either cut out the color, which is one way of cutting it out, which I don't generally use because there might be some blue on the clips. So I'm going to go this route. Please watch it. So highlight the shot number 5 that I had, clear it, and now let's work on it. Step 1, I need to separate the clouds from the mountains. Step 1, you generally go and say hello to your friend called the power windows. The power windows have shapes. Shape has a circular shape, or you draw shapes, all this stuff. So the whole bunch of stuff, I'm going to reset it. And I would like to separate the cloud from the mountain shots. So I'm going to use a pencil tool. If you have dealt with this, you know how this is working. If you haven't, say hello to your pencil. I'm going to draw a pencil around, and my pencil may not be perfect. When I'm saying not perfect, I am not trying to impress you with my skills, how good or bad I am. If you are using a Wacom tablet, it's probably going to be easier. But I'm guessing that this is sufficient enough for me to separate the sky from the mountains. Say it is not complicated. Every time I change direction, I click, and I need to have a completed environment. Like this one is a completed environment. So I separated it. You notice that it is separated here, but that's not the one that is important. For you, for I to replace it, I will hold down Alt S, Option S, I duplicate that. And the second one is the same as the first one. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to invert it. So I'm going to make sure that whatever I selected is inverted. So here's our inversion. There we go. So now I have it separated. And I notice that my cloud is the one that is going to be replaced. So how? Wait a minute, replace the cloud. Can I just put a background image in it? No, don't complicate it, make it easy. Here's the effects family. It is called Sky. Hello, type in Sky. It's called Sky Replacement. So in the upper right-hand corner, there is an FX button. Open up the FX button. If you don't know where it is, use the magnifying glass to look for it. Type in sky and find the sky replacement. When you click on the sky replacement, see if it works. You're actually cutting out the sky. So now the sky is cut out. Now you notice how bad my sky separation was. So I go back to the first original because I'm not going backwards. I'm going, the original shape was wrong. So I'm going to soften it to kind of blend in. So I'm going to push it up. There we go. So it blends in into the clouds. So meaning the clouds are blending in the mountains. So I separated it. But here's the trick. And this is the most amazing one. Okay. Artificial sky. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. How much of the artificial sky do I need? Come on now. Be nice. Artificial sky. Artificial sky. Come on. Where did you go? Artificial sky. There we go. I'm going to use the artificial sky opacity. Here's the sky. Here's artificial sky. Yeah, but it's the wrong one. How about if I add some interesting cloud opacity? Okay, so I have some clouds. Whoa, 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 whoa. Look at it. I made artificial clouds. I can pick a color, make it darker, brighter, whatever. I can make it like a dog. Look at this. That's like, silly. Purple sky. Whoa, we can go really, scientifically not acceptable. But you notice that I created an artificial sky. And if I play it on a full screen, watch it, it looks a different sky, doesn't it? And I was lying to you saying that, yeah, I did the correction. You see how soft the edges are around it. Yeah, it kind of blends in because maybe I wasn't precise enough. That's why I'm saying that the easier the separation of the cloud, the sky is, the more believable, the more natural it's going to be. I'm going to do a couple more because this is a cool thing. So I need to show you different shapes. So the second one, the same scenario. Look at how bland the sky is. It's like, okay, why don't I brighten things up? Start with that. Remember, we talked about this whole concept just minutes ago where I said, add a node. I'm almost running out of time. Maybe about 5 more minutes, guys, 10 maximum. So open up the second node, and the second node, as we have done it earlier, I'm going to use my curves to make everything brighter. Concept, there we go, contrast, I have a nice contrast. And now I'm going to say that, oh, wait, I did it on the second one. No, I don't need a second one. I do everything on the first one. Got it. So on the first one, I brighten up, make the contrast. I will now separate the sky, and the sky is easier to separate. The edges are gone. It's all now shape that is easier to follow. Power, window, get the pencil. I start on the top generally, but that's me. So you don't have to. I'm going to go around and I'm going to try to make it a different, not different, but this is actually still using a whole bunch of times. And people say, listen, this is kind of too time consuming. It's just too long. I don't have time for this. This is, my patience is, I'll show you a way of avoiding this nonsense, meaning that you create the shape. But before I do that, let me invert it. That's my matte alpha channel, and go back to the friend that I had earlier, sky replacement, replace the sky. And I'm going to do a different sky. The sky opacity is going to be bright there, and the color of the sky is going to be maybe a little bit different. There we go. And I'm going to add some cloud opacity. There we go. And maybe change the horizon color. I can also have the horizon height, raise it up so the lightness is there. Horizontal angle, so I can actually play where the sun comes from. So there's a whole bunch of cool tools that you can work with. I'm not going to go into detail because that is not the scope of this webinar, but the scope is that I can make changes. So if I am able to draw nice, and I was able, I think, to do a decent one, yeah, kind of blends in. I don't know. There we go. And that's what I am suggesting as a sky. Now, because I said, sometimes you don't want to draw. Here is my last 2. On this one, on the 7, I have a very simple way of solving this. Instead of having a shape, I'm going to split the window by saying, hey, here's a split window. What is that? I am adjusting the top. So turn around, I'm adjusting the top. Which one? There we go. So I'm going to kind of blend in. There we go, adjusting the top. Therefore, Option S duplicates it, split it. I am now working on what is visible. Oh, I have to be inverted. Got you. So I have to go back here, change it. I'm working with, there we go. Push it up. And I'm going to change the sky by going into it. Effect, watch it, sky replacement. There is the sky. Okay, turn the thing off and make the brightness. I'm going to make it like a deep dark. Deep dark. There we go. But it's actually more purple. Let's make it blue, deep blue. And because I need to add some nice clouds there we go. Clouds blend in. And if I want to do some kind of cloud scale, or the clouds are bigger or smaller, I can do the cloud shape also. I can work with that. The cloud tilting. So the cloud is kind of tilting a little bit. Cloud time. What is the time? Okay, so it maybe changes time because I have the keyframing ability. Hotspot brightness, I can actually have some kind of bright, maybe the sun is there. So there's a whole bunch of ways that you can manipulate things, and it really looks kind of cool, artificial. Whoa, believable? I don't know, you tell me. And I'll give you one more shape, not because I want to impress you, but just to give you choices that maybe the pencil or drawing with that little mouse is not really practical to you. Here's my last one. This is going to be the easier one because that to me is going to be just grabbing a box. What? A box. A box. Do I need to contrast it? Sure. Say hello to your automatic. There we go. Automatic contrast. Maybe work, maybe not. Add a shape. There we go. Here's the shape. Go on here. I'll drag it to the right. That's the right one. There we go. Drag it down. Can I drag on the top? Does it go? Yeah, yeah. So I have a shape that is acceptable. When I say acceptable, you find what is acceptable to you. I'm not trying to create mediocre quality stuff, but I'm just saying you that depending on the time and how much finance is allocated to it, you might end up with something that is, as I just showed it to you. So let's make that work. Option S, Alt S on the Windows. Give me the alpha channel, inverting it, and say hello to your sky replacement for the last time today. There we go. The sky is going to be replaced. How the color opacity is going to be there. And I'm going to, whoa, that's a menacing sky. How about the brightness, hotspot brightness? No, let's for about the horizon. That's it. Opacity is there. What about the color? Yeah, maybe there, horizon angle. And if I go all the way up, the sky opacity is there, so maybe I'm going to darken it, and the color of the sky is going to be a hello deeper, like a gray sky, like not really nice. The problem is obviously the edges, and the edges I have to come back here and make sure that the edges are defined. Which one? The one that is below. Get the edge. There we go. So I think blends in better. I am not sure if you like it, and it's not the question of me liking it, it's you need to like it. I have a different sky. That's it. The clouds are nasty. Storm is coming. So with this, I hope that you get a feeling or get a comfort level that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with. And if you have the free version, I am not 100% sure because I don't have the free version. Test it. I think it comes with the sky replacement. If you don't know where to find it, what is the family, you just type in sky. There's only one sky replacement. I highly recommend it. If you want to go back to turn off everything, turn off the sky, turn off the selection, back to the original. I made the adjustment. I replaced the sky. It's a totally different sky. I like it a lot. It is used throughout the business. So anytime you say, oh, you know, the clouds are kind of bad, we need to have, you know, the shooting rescheduled for tomorrow. Not anymore. So my name is Tibor. I hope you like this. This was obviously a run through. It was not a detail because the whole purpose of this webinar is just to get you a feel how we at FMC do the training. I'm sure that there is a chat. You check it out. There's a list of Tom, the general manager, was sending out information when classes are available if you're interested. And again, my name is Tibor. I hope you liked it. You can look me up. I have a whole bunch of stuff because I promise you I'm going to give you a place where you can find previous webinars with some material. Let me find it for you. Just 2 minutes of your time. And it's going to go into the chat. So if you want to find that link, it's going to be in the chat. Here it comes. By the way, did you find this interesting? So in chat, let me know if you liked it. I see some of you responding. I'm looking for that address. It's coming. Here's the link. Okay, so when you go onto this link, you will see a whole bunch of stuff that we have done in the past, and here is how it goes out. Thank you. There we go. Message to all. Webinars. There we go. So you should have a chat link that is https:/webinars. Those are the ones that went out. Did they go out? Yes, they did now. And these are all future media concept webinars, free webinars. You might learn something. If you are a novice, if you are someone in the middle or a high expert, you can always learn. Guys, I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your time. The show is over. I appreciate your attendance and I appreciate your patience on this one. So if you want to come back to us, please, by all means. And with that, wishing you the rest of the week. Enjoy. Thank you very much for joining us. Good luck and stay well. Thank you very much. Show is over.